All right, welcome to the Miami Heat postgame show here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. David Fernandez. I'm joined here today by Michael. We saw a very fun game this evening. Miami Heat defeated the Toronto Raptors 117-105.
Yep.
Tonight's game, or our postgame show rather, is brought to you by Biscayne Bay Brew. They hooked us up with some of the pregame beers. Their Tropical Bay IPA is delicious. They've got a Marlins lager as well. They support the 5 Reasons Sports Network, so we got to get out there and support them. They produce a tasty beer. But, we're enjoying this beer just like we're enjoying a preseason game. Not a ton that we get to pull from preseason, but we saw some fun things this evening. Michael, what'd you think, man?
We hung in there with a Raptors team that was playing their actual squad.
Yeah.
Right. And we were without Jimmy the entire game. You could tell that he was really looking to get some rotations in on some other guys too that we're not even sure are going to get a lot of regular season minutes. KZ looked phenomenal. I tweeted it out from the 5 on the floor account. At this point, the only trade I'm making for Harden is just KZ, and they have to throw in PJ Tucker in a first-round pick. Otherwise, I'm not doing it.
Of course.
But yeah, he looked great. And then Strus, who had probably one of the worst first halves I've ever seen in a preseason game in the first game.
Yeah.
Turned it around in that second half, and today just kind of went off. And I didn't even know he could dunk. He got up there, and I was like, because the way he went up too was like, well, that was.
It caught me a little by surprise too. He looked like he needed a little wind up there, but he got up there. I mean, he's listed at 6'5". He doesn't look like he's 6'5", but he got up there and he threw it down.
Listen, when I watch him play, I don't know what it is about him, but I feel like I've seen him pling at a Hialeah LA Fitness.
Oh, without question.
There's just something about the way he looks, his body configuration, everything. I'm like, dude, where did they pull you out of? But hey, he's been playing great. And at this point, you got to wonder if he's garnered an actual spot on the bench as opposed to a 2-way contract. And I'm sure we'll talk about more later, but I would even argue that I think KZ deserves to start over Harkless. But
yeah, so there's so much that we can touch on here tonight, right?
You can't jump on the bandwagon anymore, Royal.
Royal wants on the Strus bus.
Nope.
Strus bus. It's not the bandwagon, it's the Strus bus.
Over.
Or the Strus boost, I guess.
Technically it's called Strus, so none of these fun trust.
Yeah, but I mean, there's listen, as you said, there was no Jimmy tonight. There was no Avery Bradley tonight. We didn't see Gabe Vincent, who we thought maybe we'd see at some point during the preseason. No Kendrick Nunn, which Ethan kind of mentioned in the pregame show may or may not be trade related.
This is loose. I love it.
But so, we have to temper, our conclusions here tonight. But you have to be excited as a Heat fan after a years long buildup of the KZ monster that was coming, right? I mean, Ethan has said on the pod so many times. I mean, Greg has said it, that the Heat had KZ way up on their draft board that year, and that if Tyler Hero was off the board, that they might have taken him in the first round, and that they were surprised when he slid, and so they trade up to get him. And then between injuries and just the developmental process, we only saw him in 5 games. I mean, just a peak last year. And then we went into the first preseason game. He was okay, not great, but it's kind of a mismatch for him and Mo Harkless against Zion Williamson and that big front line. But then tonight, I mean, he came to play, and we've got some things to talk about today. But let's just start there with KZ. What did KZ do tonight that maybe excites you more than anything else?
I mean, there was a lot of things. I mean, I could say the corner threes, which were fantastic. But honestly, the defensive intensity and his job on that end, there was a couple times where some players backed him down and you could tell it was a bit of a size disadvantage. And it's just, it is what it is sometimes.
Sure.
But we were looking for and asking for that Jay Crowder replacement. And after the last game, everyone's talking about, man, we should have signed Jay Crowder. Doing Myers Leonard instead of him was a mistake. I think that was more of a year's issue. I was okay with him moving on. Is KZ at the Jay Crowder level right now? No. But can KZ get to that level? I honestly think KZ can get to that level this season, and probably in seasons to come can be better than Jay Crowder was for us. And so that's what excites me more, because it's like, hey, we're looking for that other defensive piece to help take some load off of Bam off of Jimmy, off of anyone else. And KZ can be that guy if he develops the way we all expect him to.
Absolutely. I mean, KZ went 9 of 15 tonight. He scored 24 points. He was 6 of 10 from 3. He was really good in the corner. And then he also attacked the baseline from the corner, which is something that you need. I mean, so much of the action that we see in this offense, the dribble handoff action, the elbow, the guy in the opposite corner is incredibly important to this offense. And if KZ is able to hit that shot and then also attack the baseline the way that we saw tonight, it does kind of unlock something that we didn't necessarily see with Mo Harkless. Now, again, we haven't seen much of Mo Harkless. We obviously haven't seen Mo Harkless with Jimmy Butler. But as he was playing, I had the same thought as you did. Maybe we were assuming Harkless was the Crowder replacement, but maybe it's KZ. I mean, I know he's young. I know that, he doesn't have much run yet. But what he was able to show tonight was the exact set of skills that we need from that spot, right? I mean, Crowder he went on a 3-point binge.
Yeah.
And
he started it again this preseason. He was hitting for Phoenix.
Yeah. I mean, but I'm with you. He signed for what, 3 years, I think it was. I mean, that wasn't something, even in retrospect with Giannis signing his max or his super max or the extension, 3 years for Jay Crowder probably was never realistically on the table. So to give KZ the opportunity to do this and then for him to step up tonight, I mean, he played 34 minutes. We're not going to expect anything like that, at least not early on in the season. But what we saw here from him tonight, I mean, he also, 5 boards, a couple assists. He held his own defensively, but he has the same sort of body type as Jay Crowder. He's a little bit bulkier. The thing that we saw with Harkless the other night was he was too thin. He was too small to help with the boards. And not that Okpala had like a major night rebounding the ball, but if his move into the starting lineup does, give Harkless a 6th or a 7th man role, probably a 7th man role at that point, that might actually be the best spot for Harkless, because I don't know if you noticed this. I mean, I'm sure you did. They were actually doing a lot with Harkless defending on the ball, and he was defending Van Vliet a lot with his length and his movement. So what, I guess, based on what we've seen, and again, obviously we haven't seen Jimmy Butler with this group.
Right.
But what do you envision as maybe the best situation for somebody like Mo Harkless?
Yeah, I think Mo Harkless's best job would be coming off the bench. I mean, at this point, I think, granted, we've got to take it with it's 2 preseason games, right? But there's a reason why this team was so high on KZ the entire time. And I think he gives you a little bit more on the interior defensively, which still isn't great. But you were right. He does have a similar body type to Jay Crowder. I would think he might even have one step up on the body type because he's a little lankier, right? Put him in there, let him start. He can give you some really good minutes. And if you let Harkless come in off the bench, that's going to be huge, especially if Avery Bradley is ever out, right, with injury, or just, giving him a rest game. Mo Harkless does have that opportunity to be a good point of attack defender, so we can throw him in there, kind of take some of the pressure off of Goran. When Goran comes in as well off the bench, I think him coming in as a 7th or 8th role is probably best for him. But at this point, it's just so exciting to watch. And then you've got to that lineup then coming off the bench, you'd be looking at Goran, Harkless, Achua, right? Precious. And Precious and Goran looked like such a tandem tonight.
Yeah, they found that chemistry real fast, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy how quickly they were moving the ball well with each other, right? I think Greg tweeted it out and said, or Brady, the spacing that Precious gives Goran is something that he loves. And you can just see he loves running that pick and roll action with him. And he was going hard at the rim. Like offensively, defensively, if Precious can turn up that intensity inside, I mean, that is huge for us. At this point, we have such a great young core. I mean, we haven't even touched on Strus yet. We haven't even touched on the fact that Bam showed one of the most versatile games that we've seen from him in a long time.
Yeah.
Regardless of the fact that he's a big, for him to be that versatile is impressive. We have all these guys to talk about that. It kind of comes back to, I know we're not talking about it right now, but when we do eventually get to it, the Harden situation, it's like, there's just so much we have that it's hard to pick what to give up, you know?
Yeah, I listen, I wouldn't envy the decisions that they have
Nope.
to make in that regard. I mean, obviously you don't, and I'm sure we can get to this later. But just I mean, you don't want to empty the cupboard, right? Even though
Right.
Harden is a top 5 player and whatnot. So the decision of who do you hold on to? I mean, I know there were reports that the sticking point was Duncan Robinson. But still, I mean, so many options with this team, such a talented and enticing young core, as you said. I mean, Precious tonight, 13 points, 15 rebounds,
Jeez.
2 assists. You know, he was really, really active. There were stretches there. I mean, I know everybody talks about him as kind of the Bam clone, right? And I can definitely see that, but I also see Mo Harkless. Not Mo Harkless, Montrezl Harrell in him.
Yeah.
I see a lot of that energy off the bench. You know, just forcing imposing his will in the paint, things like that. Kind of an undersized big man, but he's got length. He can move. The thing I think that separates him from Harkless I don't know why I keep saying Harkless, Harrell. But gets him closer to Bam is the handle that we saw. I mean, he even hit a jumper on the wing, I think, late in the fourth quarter, something that we saw Bam do tonight too. I mean, if Bam is willing to pull up and take those jumpers and knock down those jumpers, it unlocks a whole nother level of potential for this offense. But Precious was great tonight. I liked the minutes that I saw from Kelly Olynyk and playing with both Bam and Precious. And I know that, you know, he was kind of in and out of the rotation at times last year, but what did you make of Kelly and he played 22 minutes, you know, his only preseason appearance. What did you make of Kelly off the bench today?
I mean, it was really interesting seeing Kelly in the game because last game was the Myers game, right? We got all Myers Leonard minutes. Kelly didn't play at all. Tonight we saw Kelly and no Myers. Kelly did what we need from him, right? Which is moving around on the perimeter, good ball movement, good dribble handoffs. Those little moves that he makes where he fakes the handoff and goes for the dribble. That is what Kelly does. And he's doing it well. And we've opened it up for him to do that. And I think part of what's opened him up to do that is Precious inside, right? Is having that size, is knowing there's more bigs here that can handle that kind of stuff. So it was good to see those minutes from Kelly. I want to see it consistently from him. I think that was something we all went through in the playoffs where, I mean, Kelly would show up for a game and then he'd vanish for 2 or 3. Right. And we can't really afford to have that happen when it matters. Right. And that's when you'd say, okay, should we throw in Myers Leonard instead of Kelly? But then Myers needs some time to get hot and get comfortable. And so you've got this interesting tandem with the two of them where I think Kelly might have a little bit more skills on the offensive side of the ball.
Absolutely.
But his up and down play is just, it really hurts you sometimes. Right.
Yeah. And when you compare him against Myers Leonard, because it usually is one or the other, right? I mean, Myers is such a vocal anchor on that team. Like, you could always hear him talking, you know, he's calling out the defense and he's incredibly important in that regard. And he does help defensively and he does stretch the floor some, but he's limited in what he can give you. I mean, if he gets hot, then obviously he's a huge bonus, but he's limited in sort of the totality of his game, especially on the offensive end of the floor. If Kelly is giving you consistent minutes, I mean, he played 22 tonight. I mean, I would imagine maybe half that in the regular season on a consistent basis, you know, depending on the opponent and whatnot. But if he can facilitate some with that second unit, because when you think about what happens to this team when Jimmy's not on the floor or Bam is not on the floor, and then to a certain extent when Goran is not in there with that second unit, everything kind of bogs down, right? And one of the things that has struck me during these 2 games, and again, I know it's preseason, but Tyler Hero seems to have taken a step forward with his, you know, playmaking, right? His ability to initiate offense, attack the basket, stuff like that. If Kelly Olynyk can also have that layer to his game where he can facilitate from the elbow with the dribble handoffs and the keepers and things like that, then again, that second unit is in much better shape. But from playoff time, if he does disappear, they're going to have to get Precious up to speed quickly, because he's somebody that you could start to swap him in and out with Bam. And if Precious can develop that offensive game, I know that's putting a lot on a rookie, but there's almost a safety net there with him, because now it's not just the two bigs off the bench that might get played off the floor completely in Leonard and Olynyk. Now you have somebody in Precious that is athletic and can move and can make things happen as well. So it adds a layer to this roster. It adds some depth to this roster, something that obviously we're worried about losing if we're trading Harden, but we're not there yet. We're not there yet. So
I mean, real quick on the hero stuff, it's really interesting because we've talked about him needing to develop some of that on the ball offensive play, right? Some of that point attack stuff for him. And literally from the first possession of this preseason, you've seen him do that. You've seen him attack with the ball. You've seen him try to make things happen on his own, but not just for his own self to, kind of throw up a shot. He's working really hard at getting to the basket, but then also looking for the open guy, right? He's not there yet. You can tell he's got a lot to work on that stuff. But if he can add that element to his offensive game, I mean, it just all opens up for him, right? Because he can then play off the ball. He can play on the ball. You can rotate him and Goran, and it really helps you out. And you mentioned giving Precious some more, hey, do a little bit more on offense, but he's a rookie. But we did that with Tyler, right? Yeah. And that worked out pretty well for us, I'd say.
Threw him right into the fire, right?
Yeah, I mean, we threw him right into the fire. We had a young team, and look at that. We came up short in the finals, right? So I think throwing that on Precious, too, is just another part of Heat culture where it's like, hey, this is one of those places where we're not going to coddle you. We're not going to say, hey, try to see what you can do. If not, we'll bench you. It's okay. No, here's what we expect. Go do it. Get better at it as we go. So listen, this offense is looking pretty decent with all those pieces. If they're playing at this level, which is what I'm worried about, is that inconsistency. If Kelly's not on, then it puts more on Goran. And if he's out or if he's just tired,
Yeah, no, listen, I mean, and it's something that we saw last year, right? There were times where the offense would go completely dormant and we were just waiting for somebody to happen or for somebody to hit or something to happen or somebody to hit a shot. One of the things that we were talking about after the first preseason game, something we talked about in pregame as a concern, was the rebounding and the interior defense. Tonight, the Heat grabbed 51 boards. The Raptors grabbed 38 boards. So we out-rebounded them by 13, coming off a game where they were completely dominated on the glass. And we saw kind of a different team here today in terms of, what the attacks are from the Raptors and the Pelicans.
Right.
But that said, I mean, was there anything that you saw tonight from the way that the defense was deployed or the players, the movement, things like that, that made you feel a little bit better about some of that interior defense?
Feeling better about the interior defense, that's tough with this team, right? With the way the Raptors play, there's not too much interior. You can tell that when they went for the interior play, it was because they felt they had a mismatch as opposed to trying to play from there out. This team plays from the three-point line. They mentioned it on the broadcast. I mean, they shoot up, I think it's somewhere in the 40s, mid 40s in terms of three-point shots per game for the Raptors. And so that's the kind of team that I think is going to play you outside in, especially with their two small guards and Van Vliet and Lowry. So I wouldn't say that I necessarily feel better about the interior defense, but one thing that I did feel better about was that second unit defense, where there was, just because they had different players in there than they had in the first game, it did feel better when our guys came off the floor. You know what I mean? Because let's be honest, the lineup of Tyler, Hero, Bam, Harkless, KZ, the defense isn't going to be that great, especially when you have Hero and Duncan playing as your guards.
Right.
So that's going to get much better once Jimmy comes in. But the second unit defense was playing really well. And again, this was an actual Raptors team. This wasn't, they were resting their starters. They were resting key guys. This was their full team. As far as I know, they weren't missing anyone important. And so...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, we hung in there with that unit. So, I mean, that was huge for us.
Yeah, their starters, Van Vliet, Lowry, OG Anunoby, and Siakam all up over 20 minutes. Lowry and Siakam almost at 30 minutes tonight. The guys that they had on the floor were the guys that they're going to roll with, We saw Chris Boucher, who they're talking up quite a bit. He hit a couple there. He hit 3 threes. He's got a funky release to his shot. Kind of reminded me of Manute Bol a little bit. But you're right. This team plays from the outside in, and but when you're thinking about something like that, I mean, they put up 59 3-point attempts. But the fact that the Heat were able to finish those defensive possessions with defensive rebounds and not allow too many second chance opportunities, especially, when I mean, and people learn this, playing in elementary school and high school, things like that. I mean, you take a long shot, it's going to be a long rebound more often than not. So, the way that they were able to secure those defensive rebounds, and again, Precious was a big part of that in his time on the floor. He had 15 boards. He had 12 defensive rebounds. That's something that, we would normally expect from Bam. But if we could have 2 of those players on the floor at the same time, or sort of alternating one after another, that's something that allows this Heat defense, which can put some pressure and some stress on other teams. It allows them to really sort of do what they do best. So I guess let's get to it. I mean,
appreciate it. Poetic.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that we were wondering about was who was going to get that last 2-way contract, right? Because the Heat have Gabe Vincent signed to one of them. They had another one at their disposal. They brought in 4 different players. 2 of them were cut after game 1 in the preseason. They cut Bareen Tyree and Paul Bua. So they still had BJ Johnson and Max Strus. And as you said earlier, Strus had a terrible first half in the first game.
Awful.
And then he got going a little bit, was still kind of a dumpster fire though. But tonight he showed us something. What did you make of Max Strus tonight?
It's incredible to me how we keep finding these guys. Right. And we keep pulling them out of nowhere. Now, my one hesitation is Duncan Robinson. We signed on from the beginning. We sent him to the D League. We have him now. KZ got him from the beginning, sent him to the G League. Sorry, it's G League now. G League brought him on. But then Strus was somewhere else. He was with another team, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he was with he went undrafted. I know that Greg had mentioned on the 5 on the Floor pod that the Heat were in on him quite a bit coming out of DePaul.
Right.
But he went undrafted. I think he signed on with the Celtics for their summer league, but then he ended up on a 2-way deal with the Chicago Bulls. He only played in 2 games. He only played in 2 games last year. Actually, one of them was against the Heat, and he scored 5 points against the Heat in that contest. But you're right. He wasn't with the Heat, so he hasn't been in this program.
So my only hesitation there is, and I'm not saying he's Kendrick Nunn or that it's one of those things that happens all the time. We saw this with Nunn, right? Nunn kind of came onto the scene late. He exploded, had a great beginning of the year, and then ever since, Nunn has become someone that we don't even recognize in terms of the way he started.
Yeah.
Right. So with Strus, it's, do you trust him enough to say, let's give him a 2-way contract and not anybody else? Or do you want to bring him onto the roster? I feel like he may earn a spot on the roster if trades go through, right? If any trade goes through, we're losing a shooter of some kind. And so at that point, you'd want Strus on the team.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, maybe you can even trade Strus now. You've built up this reputation in the league where people think if the Heat like him, he has to be pretty good. So listen, maybe try to throw him into the Harden trade if they want to make it instead of Robinson. Just tell him it's the same thing. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, you're right. The Heat are known around the league as having one of the better player development programs. And you think about some of the guys they have involved with that. I think, you think about the assistant coaches like Anthony Carter, who helps this, helps that stuff.
I'm still not used to seeing Karan too when they go to timeouts and then they show the bench. I'm like, isn't that Karan Butler? Oh, that's right. He's with us now.
Yeah. And listen, they also have a guy on the staff who was for years a big time high school coach down here, Octavio De La Grana.
That's right.
He's another great developmental coach, and his son Derek De La Grana does developmental coaching for all these guys. I mean, and he works with these players, and when you think about Strus and then you look at him, like people are talking about, oh, this is the new Duncan Robinson, right? And the Heat identified Robinson. They put him through the process. He was in the G League, all that stuff. As a rookie, Robinson only played in 15 games. He had one start. He scored 3.3 points per game. And he hits less than 30% from 3-point land. And then you look at what he did last year, and he took this incredible step forward. And if we weren't talking about Bam as being the most improved player a year ago, I mean, Robinson would have absolutely been in that conversation, right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he averaged 13.5 points last year. He hit almost 45% from three. And he was such a gravitational pull on the offensive end. I mean, you had to know where he was. And even tonight, the Raptors were doubling him on the perimeter. They were jumping those dribble handoffs. And if you pair Robinson with the right partner in that regard, Bam, they've done it. They did it a couple times with Hero. I don't know if they did it tonight, but I know that they did it the other night. It really does some interesting things offensively. Can Strus get to that level? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what the debate is here, right? Because we see the potential. It's how much do we want to sit here and see it through?
Yeah, but we got to remember, it took Robinson 2 years to get to that point, right? I mean, he had an entire year on with the club, and then going back and forth with the G League. Strus is not going to have that. He's going to either be with the club or they're going to let him go because the Heat aren't running a G League team this year. So, that might actually help him if he's around and he signs that 2-way deal. He's at practice with the development and all that stuff. But it's obviously not something that we can expect, for him to step right in and do this. He's probably going to have something similar to Robinson's rookie year instead of what we saw last year. But I mean, it's
appreciate it, Marcos.
Absolutely.
Hey, listen, if they could, I mean, it's just neither of them has the dribble. That's the thing, right? Neither of them would I trust dribbling the ball at the top of the key.
No, not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. But this is probably goodbye to BJ Johnson, who was still on the roster. Oh, here he is.
What's up, bro?
Here he is.
Hey, hold on. No. Next segment. We're talking about Strus right now. We're talking about Strus. After your slander, you can't. It's over.
Wait.
Mute him.
That's right, man. You mute him.
Are you
here to apologize?
Yes, actually, I was coming in here specifically to apologize to Steph Strus. Okay, the Strus God came down from the very heavens to make Duncan Robinson even more expendable in this trade for James Harden.
Get out of here.
Nah, man. No, but seriously, I don't know how much I missed most of the conversation, but I don't know if you guys got into KZ Durant. That's the scoring god.
What do you think of KZ? We did talk about KZ already. Yeah. Let's hear. What'd you think?
Nah, man. I mean, he looked really, really good. Like I was a big fan of him showing some of the growth that we all anticipated from the first game. We never got an opportunity to see it manifest itself in that first game, but this game he came out full force, and it was an interesting point brought up on the broadcast how he could be competing for that starting spot. Like you slot KZ into that starting spot, and if he plays any way similar to the way he played tonight, then we might have something in that rotation.
I don't even think you need to start him because Mo Harkless is just going to get 2 fouls in the first 30 seconds of the game, and so then we're going to have to bring him in anyway. So start him, bring him in after 30 seconds. It's basically the same thing. I
said it on Twitter. Mo Harkless is a personal foul waiting to happen. Like he's gonna be fouled out by halftime of every game. So you might as well start KZ and use Mo Harkless in that Udonis Haslem role where he comes in there specifically to foul the shit out of people.
I mean, he seems tailor-made for that.
Absolutely. But yeah, the team showed a lot of good things tonight. I was a really big fan of all the young guys, how they played. So yeah, I wanted to apologize to the Strus guy, and then come here and talk a little bit about KZ. But I'll just jump into the conversation wherever you guys are now.
No, you can. Hey, I will say what we need to have Strus on 5 on the floor, right? Because then what we'll do is that'll help elevate his game because Tyler was on and he had a great game. There was another player that they had on earlier in the season and then they had a great game too. Listen, throw Strus in there. That's it. You've locked him in. It's golden.
You got to wait for my Strus jersey to get here in the mail. Like I ordered it midway through the third quarter.
They did the wrong Vice jerseys, man. They got to do, I need the KZ jersey release. I need the Strus jersey release. What's going on?
There was a picture of Strus in the Vice jersey today with no number on it. Like, how dare they disrespect our star player like this? Like, this is the type of stuff that I be talking about when the media disrespects the Heat, and it's coming from home.
You're the media that disrespected Strus. You started this.
First of all, Michael, you're living in the past. We're in the now. Okay.
Did you apologize? You probably slandered Tyler Hero too when we got him, huh?
I wasn't on 5 reasons at the time. I wasn't on 5. He got little arms, bro. What the fuck?
Hold on a second. Did you also slander Myers, Leonard, Kelly Olynyk, Duncan Robinson? There's something about all these players in Royal.
Okay, so first of all, Michael, we will not expose my slight racism on this show. But no, I love always like Kelly Olynyk's game, but the rest of them, you're absolutely right. I slandered them for filth. I put them. Why are these comments showing up over my face? See, this is the type of racism. This is the type of racism that leads to my racism. I'm trying to hold a black man down on the show. but no, I mean, I wonder how many people are ready to trade KZ for James Harden straight up now. Like that's the deal. That shit.
Let's get to it. So, I mean, there's been so much talk. I mean, we kind of kicked the ball down the road here this evening.
We were waiting for Royal.
Yeah, we were. So there's been obviously a lot of talk about the Harden deal, right? And there have been reports, led here by 5 reasons. I mean, Ethan, Adam, Greg,
they've been on top of it the whole time. Shams and Woj,
absolutely. Guys. Like the national guys are way behind on this one. The Heat are in on James Harden. So, we've talked for a long time about what a palatable package would look like for Harden. Like, what would you be okay with giving up for somebody of Harden's caliber? Let's set aside the pictures that we saw of Harden from the other night, and let's just kind of focus on the kind of guy, the kind of player that we know that he is, the productive scorer that we know that he is. What do you guys think? What would be maybe the baseline? Like what's like, where do you draw the line with this deal?
So first of all, the other night, that was James Larden, not James Harden. That mother.
That's my
fault. But yeah, so I've been in the camp. Adam convinced me a while back to be in the camp of giving up everything short of Jimmy and Bam to get Harden here. And I guess part of the implications of tonight with KZ and Strus or Strus, I still don't know how the fuck to say his name.
It's Strus, yeah.
Strus.
It's Strus.
Okay.
They were saying all that, yeah.
With Strus, KZ showing some flashes tonight, it made me a little bit more comfortable with some of the pieces that we're going to have to give up. Like, I've already known that we're going to have to give up Tyler Hero, but to know that we have another shooter capable of having, some success and some consistency in that shooting area, that makes it more comfortable for me. Giving up Duncan, same thing with Strus. It's the same concept, but with KZ, I think he made me really comfortable about what we can do moving forward, but putting something next to Bam to complement him, Jimmy, and Harden all at the same time.
So in your deal, they build it around Hero and Robinson, and we hang on to KZ.
Yeah. So we try hang on to KZ, but I mean, we're gonna have to give up somebody like Precious, and Precious tonight showed me a lot too. Like I didn't mention him as much, but Precious showed me that he could potentially, like somebody said, like he's a jumper away from taking all of those minutes at the 4, because the way that he played with his energy, the effort that he gave on the boards and everything, that's what we're looking for in terms of having an interior presence next to Bam.
Yeah, I mean, I think those 4. I think those, like, the 4 minutes go to KZ first, right? I love Precious. I just think KZ gives you a little bit different, right, with his lanky play. On the Harden trade, look, and I'm gonna let's say this how it is, right? Right now, there's a civil war within 5 reasons. We all know it. We can all see it.
The 5 reasons, Heat Twitter. I mean,
right there's Team Harden and there's Team No Harden, right? And right now, one side is being led by Ethan, right, and the other side's being led by Kylie. And I'm gonna say this clearly: I'm going Team Kylie. When we all go our separate ways,
you're the Wang Gang.
I'm going Wang Gang. I'm going Wang Gang. I'm saying
shout out to the Wang Gang shirts.
I'm going Wang Gang. But on this one point, I'm gonna have to go with Ethan. It's not that I dislike Harden as a player, and if the Heat pull the trigger, and I've said this before, I'm all in. Right? Once the Heat do it, let's do it. I trust Riley. I trust this team. But what are we looking at giving up? We're looking at giving up Tyler, Duncan, not an Olynyk. Listen, I'll sell them for free. But then probably 2 to 3 first-round picks. At least 2, right? In that package.
You would think.
I think you're giving up 2.
We have so few picks already. We do such a good job with the ones that we do keep, right? When we draft a player, who do we take? We take Bam Adebayo. We take Tyler Hero. Yes, he's young, but we take Precious. I'm not comfortable mortgaging our future for a guy who I do think helps, and he absolutely makes us better immediately. But I'm not convinced that adding Harden to this team puts us over the top against teams like LA. Right? Yeah. I don't think Harden puts us over the top against LA, and that's who we're going to have to go through for the next couple of years. And those are the years that we're not trying to waste with Jimmy. So for me, if you find a way to maybe keep one of Tyler or Duncan, preferably Tyler, I'm a Hero fan. I'm not a stan enough to say he's perfect. He's not better than Harden. But if you can keep one of those 2 guys out of the trade, then I'm a little more in on it. But to give up all of that future and hope that Strus is Tyler or Duncan, you're banking on a lot, right? Like Strus can start hitting brick again tomorrow. We saw him do it in the first half in the first game, right? So I don't know. It seems like too much to give up for a guy who I think is he's a little too fat and doesn't rebound enough for his weight.
Well, yeah, listen, I'm sorry. I'll let you go in a second, David. But it's not mortgaging the future for Strus. It's mortgaging the future for a bearded 30 points per game. That's what it is. Like that's where everybody is. Like, yes, we give up our future, but that's the win now. That's the way this organization has always been ran. And on top of that, it's kind of like there's no guarantee that this young talent continues to develop on the same trajectory that we think it is. And we already know what Harden is. Harden's guaranteed 30 points a game, and he's going to play every game. He plays all the time. Even if you don't like the way he plays, he's always going to be out there.
He's a 30 points per game, except when it really matters.
Yeah, but that's why we have Jimmy and Bam.
Yeah, but you're mortgaging your future, not a guy. Tyler Hero does better in the clutch than Harden.
Yeah, but during the regular season, and during the playoffs, look, I think James Harden's weaknesses are mitigated by the presence of Jimmy and Bam being there. It's not James Harden or bust on this team. Even if we do have to give up everyone else. All I'm saying is that James Harden puts us in a better position to win now, as opposed to hanging our hopes on future players who may never develop to the level that, even though they've shown signs that they may never develop to the expectations of the fan base.
Sure. Yeah. I'll let David go before I give my alternate trade.
I think all these conversations are happening right inside Heat Twitter, inside 5 Reasons, obviously inside the Heat building, right? And it's all about, the big talk is, do you mortgage the future or do you go for it right now? And you think about Jimmy, he's 31 years old and he's been in the league and he's got some tread on those tires, right? Harden's played a lot. He's also 31 years old. So do you want to win in Jimmy's window or do you want to win in a different window? Because Bam's window might be a little bit different than Jimmy's window. I mean, Bam is ascending, right? And Greg says it all the time, no ceiling, right? But when you think about, dealing the young core for the established veteran, the Heat have done that time and time again. They did that when Riley arrived to get Alonzo Mourning. They did that to get Shaquille O'Neal. They did that, to a far lesser extent, obviously, to get Jimmy Butler. And they were actually in on the Butler deal when he was in Minnesota. I'm sure you guys remember that. Yeah. That it felt like we were going to trade with the Timberwolves to get Butler, but that deal fell apart. And part of what was, the issue there was like, the young core of Jay Rich and Justice and things like that. We have a different young core now, right? One that excited us in this run to the finals. But I think if you have the opportunity to get a top 5 player in the league, you get him. And then you figure the rest of it out. Because
I'm by myself. All right, bye guys. We just made it to the finals, right? Like that's my difference, right? Yeah. Like we were just there. and we were really close. And I stand by what I think, which is I don't think Harden is that missing piece on this team. I agree he makes us better. And if he plays better in the playoffs with us, if we do trade him, than he has in Houston, okay, absolutely. We're talking a whole different story. But history has shown us a specific Harden, right? We saw him when he was on the Thunder, and that dude shrunk worse, almost as bad as LeBron did in the first finals that he had with us. You're giving up a lot of guys. And I would say that Tyler Hero, I think, is better already, or I have higher in my mind than both Justice and Richardson were.
Oh, I'm with you on that.
As a player, I think Tyler Hero's a better player.
Right?
Both
So, yeah, we're higher on Tyler.
We never saw like what we saw last postseason from Jimmy. We had never seen before. You know, he was never somebody who had made it to the level that he made it. So it's not to say that these guys can't get to that other level when they're here with this group, with this coaching staff, with this development. And listen, if they don't make the deal, I'm also kind of okay with it because the core is so exciting. And I'm with you with the finals run and all that stuff. But if they ultimately do make this deal, I mean, Royal, you said you'd want to hang on to KZ. Michael, you said Hero. For me, it's actually Duncan. I think he's somebody that would work really, really well with Harden on the floor as just a spacer and things like that. And again, if they have to give up, I mean, 4 or 5 guys, it kind of thins out the depth. But, you know, I'm confident that they'd be able to figure something out.
I'm perfectly fine being top heavy. I'm fine with it. It happened during the Big Three era, and we got championships out of it. We had to trade away young talent then. We had to
Spo went 7 deep. Spo only went 7
I wouldn't say we never traded anyone,
but
nearly on the level.
And here's the thing to your other point, Michael. You were just talking about how we were in the finals. Yes, we were in the finals, and yes, we were two games away from winning it. The problem is that the rest of the East has gotten better. And if we maintain status quo, then there is no guarantee that we can put that we're in a position to get back there again. With Harden, that just elevates our chances. You said it yourself. It makes our team better, and it makes us competitive with the Brooklyns and with the Milwaukee's, with Philadelphia.
I think we're competitive with Brooklyn now, though. I think to assume to think the East doesn't run through the Heat anymore, I think would be silly. We won it for a reason. And yes, Brooklyn does have their guys back, but I think this team goes at worst 7 games in a loss against the Nets. And I think we can beat them. I just feel KD's amazing. Kyrie's great. There's not too much else on that team that really like scares me or makes me think, well, we can't get past them.
No, I'm with you there. Like, I'm not saying that the Heat are hopeless in this situation. I'm just saying that with everybody else getting better, it only makes sense that Miami does the same. Like, like if we have an opportunity, like I don't understand why this is such a conflict between the fan base, because this is one of the top 5 players in the game right now. Like we're all in on people like Gordon Hayward and shit like that when he's a free agent. But now we have an opportunity to get Harden.
Those are the same times we were happy about Hassan Whiteside signing with us. So I mean, come on, we were bad fans.
I was never fucking happy with Hassan Whiteside signing for us. But
there you go. That's the first one that's not white.
I fucking hate Hassan Whiteside. Like, I know. That is a. But yeah, but no, I'm just like to the point. Though, it's like when you got an opportunity to get one of the best players in the league, bro, you have to do it because how many other opportunities are we going to get like this after? Everybody signed those extensions. The 2021 free agency class is drying up.
Kawhi opt out though.
Yeah, but that's
Kawhi opt out though.
Yeah, I mean, we thought the same thing with Giannis, and that extension got signed.
He can still ask for a trade next year. The trade that I'd make right now for the Heat, because I think it would make us better right now because we'd be giving up players that I don't think are big impacts, is, and me and Tiffany Meeks have talked about this a lot on Twitter, is I give up Nunn and Olynyk and I ship them to Indiana and I get Victor Oladipo. And yes, Victor Oladipo is nowhere near James Harden. And Oladipo has a lot of shortcomings in his games and has some ways to improve. But if you're giving up Nunn and Olynyk, who I think we can give up, right? I don't think they're impactful players on this team. To get Oladipo, who's another guy that can control the ball, take some of that pressure off of Goran in the second unit, I'd rather make that trade and see where this team goes before giving up all these guys when I think Tyler Hero can really move a lot further. Robinson can move a lot further. I'd be more comfortable with that. But again, if they do trade for Harden, hey, I'll buy his jersey once he wins us the finals, because at that point, Harden to me, the Harden acquisition is finals or bust, right? Yeah. It's win the championship or you've lost me.
So, and Michael, I think I understand your sentiments on Harden because it's the same as most Heat fans. Nobody wants James Harden to come to Miami, be successful, and then be viewed as a better shooting guard than Dwayne Wade. Nobody wants that.
He won't be. I'm sorry, he won't be.
He won't be. But you know, you have Harden stands out there already who.
Oh yeah.
You know, one championship and Harden's better than Wade.
We all went to war against James Harden. All of us did. Yes, all of us on Twitter were talking our crap about James Harden when they came and slandered our man. Listen, I have his picture signed back there. I'm never gonna have Harden's picture signed. I'm not. I'm not.
No, I would never. I wouldn't even go as far as buying a Harden jersey, even if he wins us a championship. I'm just
I'll buy the jersey
for him being on the team. Not that. No, but yeah, I think that was one of the main things. Like, I don't want to be a part of the whole Harden being in the same conversation as Wade thing. It makes me feel yucky on the inside.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely a conversation that we cannot have, that we will not entertain on this show or on any other show.
These two, Sean brings up more trades here too, that I'd make those. I think Aldridge definitely helps his team a lot too. DeRozan helps his team more.
Yeah, but I wanted to get back to your Indiana trade. Is there any way that we can get Miles Turner in there too? Like, if we get Miles Turner,
we'd have to give up a ton more. I think at that point we'd have to give up one of either Tyler or Duncan in that package.
Probably.
Yeah, but still, that isn't an acceptable loss for Harden. If we get back Oladipo and we get back Miles Turner, then we're essentially getting back two starters, right?
If there's no picks involved in there.
If there's no picks involved in there, you're still giving up none Olynyk. And you have to add
no picks involved in there. I do none Olynyk and pains me, but one of either Robinson or Hero for Depot and Turner.
Oh no. I would never put Hero in that deal. Never.
So So you view Hero higher than Robinson just because? Hey, listen, I love Hero a ton, but Hero and Robinson have their moments where I'm like, hey, Robinson is key for this team in some of that offensive spacing.
Yeah,
that's the thing right there. I think Robinson provides something that's unique to this offense. Like the gravity that he plays with. I mean, he just pulls defenders to him. And while Hero can do stuff with the ball, he could finish around the rim and he could shoot. He's got the clutch gene. I mean, we've seen it. Robinson does something that really, really opens things up. I mean, I guess when we're talking about this trade and we're talking about Harden, and again, Harden's 31 years old, the thing that we're not talking about here is Butler. And, you know, is Butler driving this at all? And, you know, are you worried?
Freeze on your screen too.
Yeah, bro, it's frozen. Oh, no, it is.
I'm back now.
It looked like you just took a nap with your eyes open.
No, well, I thought you were frozen, David. What's wrong with his computer? I'm using my phone tonight.
Oh, man, thundering in.
Yo, no, guys. I just want to mention one thing that was on the Stephen Frisaro interview that Ethan and 5 on the 4 did. He did mention that James Harden and Jimmy Butler do have a good friendship. When they played in that first round playoff round, he saw them a lot hanging out together after games. He even heard them say, "Hey, we're gonna go out." After I think it was games 1 and 2 in Houston, and because Jimmy's from Houston. Right. So if anybody has any questions, I don't think Butler would want this, or I don't think he's in the talks of this. Listen, Jimmy Butler is getting told everything that's happening step per step. There's no way that he has committed to give everything to this organization without him being told what's going on.
Sure. So, I think the one thing there is I don't think it's ever been a matter of Butler not liking Harden. It's just a matter of how much Butler likes and values players like Robinson and Hero. Especially Hero, who he's taken under his wing. Like,
yes, but at the end of the day, do you want to win in Jimmy's window or do you want to win in Bam's window? Because Jimmy's window is not as wide as Bam's is.
That was the point that I was trying to get to.
Like, and that's the point that David made. And listen, the East is not going to get weaker. It's only going to get stronger. The time to win is now.
I'm just saying.
I win in Bam's window. Manny said at the end of the day. Manny said at the end of the day. Manny said at the end of the day. So shout out to
Michael, hold on. Michael. At the end of the day, you gotta win championships, bro.
Yeah.
That was James Harden. I'm out.
I would rather win in Bam's window because I think Bam's window is larger. And you're talking about, look, if Bam can play his all-around game, I think Bam is going to be in MVP conversations in 2 to 3 years. At that point, you build completely around him. You have other young guys building with him. I don't know. You're looking at a good 4 or 5 year window after KD's past his prime, after Kyrie's past his prime. And who else in the East am I really worried about developing like that? The Celtics. So, that's it. And we've handled them.
So if you're looking at I guess that's why.
Yeah,
that's why. Bam's window, then why did you get Jimmy?
Yeah, if the trade doesn't happen, it's okay because we have Bam's window and those other young guys and things like that. So it's a matter of
you're gonna tell me that a year ago we saw that Bam?
No, of course
Bam was a great player, but nobody saw that. Nobody was thinking build around Bam. So that's why you went and got Jimmy.
When you got Jimmy, the intent was to build around Jimmy. And so that means that the intentions were to win during Jimmy's window. And that's why you make this trade. It's not to wait for Bam. Yes, Bam has developed. And yes, we're going to have Bam's window, but his window is concurrent with Jimmy's window. Bam's here for 6 years.
Look,
wherever he wants to be or not.
Here's my worry with it too, right? You get Harden, you get 3 to 4 years of really competitive high-level basketball where we should be in finals conversations at the worst, right? The worst possibility is we get bumped in the Eastern Conference Finals against a team that came out of nowhere and really just blew us out of the water, right?
Right.
And then after that, you've got a good amount of years of more prime Bam, and you've got the 2008 to 2007 to 2010 Miami Heat, where you were treading water with a really bad team, and we get Michael Beasley. I mean, just bro, I don't want to go through that again.
Listen,
I don't want to do to Bam what we did to Wade.
Mike, we paid for the Big Three era with the Hassan Whiteside era. That's just the reality.
But I'm talking about after 06. I'm talking about after 06.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So we paid for the first championship with that era, and then we built up enough so that we can get LeBron and Bosh, and then we paid for that era with the Hassan Whiteside era. Like, that's the nature of the beast. But boy, are those years sweet when you're winning.
Yeah, but I don't think we're losing. I don't think we're losing those years now.
Yeah, but I don't think that we're as competitive. I think right now we're a team in the middle of the pack with everybody else.
That's the most important guy right there. That's the most important guy right there.
Andy, the finesse
at the end of the day, Andy's the most important. Not Jimmy.
Hey, listen, I will go down on this ship with Ethan. Again, I'm riding with Wayne Gang for the rest of 5 reasons and every other thing we're doing, but this one thing I'm gonna stick with him.
Now, but listen, Ethan kind of backed off on that today when I was listening to the pod when he said if it brought in PJ Tucker, he's all for it. So if we can land PJ Tucker, how you feeling about it?
That makes it different. That makes it different, right? Because really? I mean, Tucker, so he helps out defensively and interiorly.
PJ Tucker tilts the fucking scale for you. But James Harden is an absolute
nah.
Get the fuck out of here, Mike. Like,
you're talking 4 players and 3 first-round picks for just Harden? Nah, nah.
Hey, you're talking about PJ fucking Tucker.
I tell you right now, I don't think Harden wins us the championship. Bring out Ice Cube. Bring out what's the other one? What's the other one you like to bring out there? There's the Adam Gase one. You like that one a lot? There it is. There it is. Keep them coming.
Bro, PJ Tucker, G, never.
You don't want, so you want just Harden. You don't want PJ Tucker.
I would take Tucker. I mean, I clearly offended Royal, but
I'm fine with it. I'm not scared of Royal.
No, I think PJ Tucker would be a great addition to this club, and we're pushing an hour. I guess we should probably wrap it up at some point, right? But so I guess if we had to give up all those guys, right? And he's back. So if we had to give up all four of the young pieces plus 2 picks, if it's just Harden, it's a no for you, Michael, but it's a yes for you, Royal, right?
Yeah.
But if we add PJ Tucker and then maybe Olynyk on our side or whatever to make the salaries work, then we're good with it.
You know what though? I'm still not great with it. It's better, but I still prefer not to.
Yeah, but how fast you said yes, that bothered me. Like, what is it about PJ fucking Tucker?
Listen, there's something about a 35-year-old who looks slightly out of shape but can shoot a corner three and play some decent defense that just gets me going, man. Just gets me going.
Right. So Harden is,
there it is.
So Harden is the consolation prize in this.
No. Listen. That's two overweight guys. Just one overweight guy is kind of awkward. You bring two, then it's a group, right? It's a clan.
Can they even pass the conditioning tests?
Exactly. You send both of them to Tootsie's. You send both of them to all the clubs. Listen, this fine. He's got a partner, little buddy up. We're good. But just Harden by himself, we're gonna lose him.
No, but I think Ethan also made another good point where he said he would love to see Harden's conditioning test on pay-per-view.
Oh yeah.
Now that would be must-see TV for me. Like
for sure,
bro. To watch him puke up his life, that would be great.
All right, so let's end on this note. I mean, let's just say for the sake of argument, for the sake of this discussion, we don't end up with Harden. Let's just say that
Royal, what will you do? Will you say
this has all been a master plan on Daryl Morey's side to manipulate him to get him to Philadelphia, whatever the case may be. So no Harden. We just ended the preseason. We're starting the regular season in a couple days. Michael, you're going to be there up in Orlando. So what do you guys think? Last year we went into the season hoping, feeling pretty good about a playoff run, feeling pretty good about like the second round. The finals were never in anybody's expectations a year ago. So based on what you saw last year, based on what we've seen with the additions and in the preseason, what are your expectations for this coming season? No Harden.
Royal, I'll let you go.
Okay, so
and then I'll just disagree with you. That's what I'm waiting for.
I was about to say.
Yeah, that's my boy.
Right, Michael Savior on the But okay, so with no Harden, I'm still pretty confident in the team. Just being honest with you, I think Harden puts us at a different level. But even against all the teams that have gotten better, I think Miami has enough pieces, enough tools in the tool shed to be competitive and do the same thing that they did to other teams last year, which is confuse them by being able to change their game depending on whatever type of game's being had. And so Miami's versatile enough. They have enough versatile, switchable people on the team. I see no reason why we shouldn't be in at least the Eastern Conference Final with the team is currently constructed. Like that was my prediction before I saw anything, and I'm sticking with it even after I see a little bit because some of the growth that I've seen in Bam, some of the growth that I've seen in Tyler, the steadiness I've seen in Duncan Robinson, and then some of the new additions. Like I'm pleasantly surprised by KZ. I'm pleasantly surprised by what Precious has already begun to offer. I thought he'd start off slower, but yeah, Eastern Conference Final is kind of like where my bar is now.
Okay, right. Michael, what do you think?
I really hate to do this and it burns me up inside, but I agree with Royal. No, I agree. I think I expect finals again for this team. I know that the East is better this year than it was last year. But I think this team is still competitive against the Brooklyn Nets. I think we beat the Brooklyn Nets in a series. Honestly, I do. I think we beat the Celtics again in a series. I think outside of that, what are you looking at? Toronto, which I don't think Milwaukee. I think this team is perfectly built for Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Like I think this team is so like we have so much the versatility you were talking about to defend Giannis and just send guy after guy at him. And Giannis gets tired, but we're like, all right, bring in another one. We have about 4 or 5 guys who all have basically the same body build, right? Between KZ, Mo, Precious, and yes, these other ones are a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, but Bam, you've got a bunch of guys you can throw at him that's really going to tire him out. I think this team has no ceiling, and I expect finals again.
All right, so I'm with both of you guys. If they don't make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, it's a disappointment for me. I think anything less than the Eastern Conference Finals, they'd be coming up short. I mean, barring injury and things like that. But I think they've got another finals run in them, especially as some of these young guys can take a step forward. But listen, we've got a couple days to see what happens on the Harden front. If he shows up, as you said, we're gonna cheer for him. We're gonna blow up here on 5 Reasons, and we'll see.
Yeah, that's what I'm on. Forget Harden. You know what? Send all those guys just for PJ Tucker.
Yeah, so listen, you got to stay tuned to the 5 Reasons Sports Network for the PJ Tucker trade news whenever it drops.
PJ Tucker Watch. That's the name of this episode.
That's right, the PJ Tucker Watch. Make sure that you check out the 5reasonsports.com with all of our coverage of not only the Heat, but the Marlins, the Dolphins, the Canes, all of that. You check out our other shows. You got to get one of the new t-shirts. The Wang Gang t-shirt is up on the website. And our sponsor tonight was the Biscayne Bay Brew. You got to get those beers, man. You got to get that Tropical Bay IPA. They're supporting the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you guys on the 23rd.
PJ Tucker.
At the end of the day, we'll see you on the 23rd.